Hey, everybody, and welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm Christy Brower, here with my sister, co host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Well, it's going good. We were actually able to sneak out this afternoon and go have a little shopping and coffee afternoon, and
Yes, we were.
it
It was
was
awesome.
great.
It really was, because I've been sick and I'm so tired of staying home.
Right? And since you didn't have the vid, we could go shopping
Right.
for a little bit. We just
Yes.
never get to do stuff like that. So it
No,
was
we don't.
great.
Yeah, it was. It was really fun. And we're
Oh,
excited to be here with you all. It is, of course, the
yeah.
Wednesday night case update. And oh my gosh, our list is huge tonight.
Hey,
We have so
caramba,
much
man.
stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to say hey to everybody in the chat. Welcome, GB, Jennifer, Cranky, Paula, Renee, Alexis, Christy, Barbara, Lynn, and Lauren. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so nice to have you all here on our,
Yes, it is.
you know, our only second week of season 3.
I know.
Season 3, you
Which is
guys.
crazy because it feels like forever with all of our new little segments, and we're putting those segments out on TikTok and like just doing some different things. It,
Yeah,
it, it feels like we've been in season 3 for a while, but we haven't. But it's
no,
okay. I love it. I love what we're doing.
it's awesome. It is awesome. Welcome, Jacqueline, Tracy, Elizabeth. So nice to have you here with us. Fran, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Well, we better jump right into this because I'm glad you like our
Man.
new music. But because we have so much. So I'm going to start with, I think, some pretty big news. And this is sentencing in the trial in the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. So this is the McMichael and William Roddy Bryan
Yeah.
trial. They were convicted of all kinds of heinous stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
have now been sentenced.
Yes.
So, Travis McMichael, who is actually the person who shot and killed Ahmaud Arbery, is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yeah.
I think he got life plus like 30 years or something like that, but
Yep.
no possibility of parole. His father, Gregory McMichael, also got life without the possibility of parole.
Mm-hmm.
And then William Roddy Bryan, who was the neighbor who just ran down the road and joined in,
Yeah.
being white guys chasing a black guy, and he obviously chose what side of this coin he was on. He was
Yep.
sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole.
Yeah.
He will be eligible for parole only after he's served 30 years in prison, and he's 52. So, not a lot of likelihood that he's going to get out, and the other
No.
two will never get out. So, it is definitely it's big. This is big because this was a hate crime
Mm-hmm.
in which the white guys finally got their comeuppance.
Yeah.
Now there still is federal hate crime charges pending against these men.
Yeah.
So there will be more
Mm-hmm.
for them, but I mean life without the possibility of parole is pretty much all you got,
Right. Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
And
But it's making a statement, you know?
right.
We are not going to tolerate this stuff on any level, the state level, the federal level. It's not going to happen. We're not going to put
Ex-
up with it. Yeah.
exactly. And that's the message that the court really sent here, and that makes me
Mm-hmm.
really happy, honestly. And you're
Yeah.
right, it doesn't bring Ahmaud Arbery back, GB.
No.
True, it doesn't bring him back. But there's some justice here and just some also awareness to
No, and
people
some
who might
precedent.
do something like this, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
You're not going to just get away with it like you have in the past.
Yep. Yep.
So, pretty happy about that, frankly.
Yep.
I'm
This is
feeling
good.
like I'm feeling like there was some justice served there.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed, Cranky. She said it's about time. It is. It's about time that we start sending a really strong and clear message that we're not going to put up with this,
Yeah.
regardless of who you think you are in this country or who you think you support who will support this or whatever this shit is. We're not putting up with it.
Right. We're not. Yeah, this is good. This outcome and the Derek Chauvin outcome in the George Floyd murder, uh,
Mhm.
both we're seeing things start to shift, but we
Mhm.
got to keep the pressure on.
Well, both of those and then shifting gears a little bit, the Maxwell conviction
The Maxwell conviction, although
and
it'd be sure nice to know, she was convicted of sex trafficking, but
mhm.
trafficking to who? Wouldn't we like to know?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lukewarm conviction, but it was at least a start. But then
Hmm.
also, of course, the Crumblies, the charges against the
Yes,
Crumblies. It's like four big precedents being set right now in court
yes,
about
really
what we're going to
big.
tolerate moving forward.
Right, and if you haven't seen our new episode that came out this morning, it is an update on the Ethan Crumbley, case. He was the young man who, is accused of a school shooting in,
Michigan,
Michigan,
yeah,
I think. Yeah, Monroe High School, and his parents who have been
Oxford High
charged.
School, yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
Well, yeah, after especially after the case we covered this morning, yeah, GB, and you're talking about Jason Walker, the shooting of Jason Walker over the
Ooh,
weekend. If you guys aren't familiar with that, go watch the episode that dropped this morning, the Wednesday case, and prepared to be horrified. But yeah, there's
yeah, we're gonna be following that one very closely. And, Lauren says, "I saw something about Maxwell charges being dropped." Well, charges can't be dropped because she's been convicted, but they might force a retrial. There's a lot of things going on, with that case because of a juror who has publicly said that they have experienced sexual abuse, and apparently there was, in the questionnaire for the jurors, a question about that, and there's a question about how he answered that question versus what he's
mhm,
saying now, and did that have an impact on the jury? Now, I think it's gross as hell to
yeah,
think that that jury had to be people who've never experienced any kind of abuse. Like,
hmm.
that's how is that a jury of anyone's peers?
Well, and
It
how do
is
we
not.
quantify that?
Yeah.
What kind of abuse? How much abuse? How old were they?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you really quantify
Well, and let's look at the
abuse?
stats. I mean, how are you gonna get that
Yeah,
jury?
how are you going to get women on your jury? How? How?
And this was a man. This is a
Yeah.
man. So
Well,
we
but
don't know
he
what the
also said in one of the interviews that he did, he's gross, by the way. He is way gross right now about the attention seeking stuff.
Yes, very much.
Awful. But he also said that when they were deliberating, that one of the other jurors also said that she had been sexually abused.
Yeah.
And so that's also now calling another juror into question. It's not good. Not good.
It's not, except that why is that a qualifier? That's
Yeah.
bullshit. That is
Or
a
a disqualifier.
right,
Yeah.
right. So we'll see what the judge decides to do with it. There are also, the alternates and how they could use the alternates in that situation. There's a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
So right, right, Lauren, then they must not allow any women on a jury depending on how they classify sexual abuse.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. It's a bullshit qualifier.
Totally.
So, anyway, so we're
Yep.
keeping a close eye on that, of course.
Hmm.
And in that same vein, the Prince Andrew trial. So,
Yes.
this is Virginia Giuffre, who is one of the victims of, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine, Maxwell.
Hmm.
She has filed a civil case against Prince Andrew for sexually assaulting her. And there have been legal questions about whether or not that civil trial could go forward, depending because of some of the things that happened with the original Jeffrey Epstein trial, man, the way that the courts handled Jeffrey Epstein is such bullshit, and it's repercussing for 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
The judge has ruled that yes, that trial can go forward.
Yeah.
So it is now going forward. So that's big
Yeah.
news because
That is
they
huge
were
news.
waiting to see what happened with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial first, and then to determine if some of the agreements made around the original conviction of Jeffrey Epstein actually precluded Prince Andrew from being sued. Give
Mm-hmm.
me a friggin' break. But in fact, he can be. So the
Mm-hmm.
that trial is going forward, so we will be reporting on it. Remember, this is a civil trial. It is not a criminal trial. He can't be charged criminally here unless he was here, and he's not coming here. Come on, he's
Mm-hmm.
British royalty. So this is about money. She's suing him for
Mm-hmm.
money. And so we're going to keep an eye on that because some of the testimony in the Maxwell trial actually confirmed what she is alleging, which is
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
So that, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, there are a few things happening in the Harmony Montgomery case. Katie, do you want to
Yeah.
talk about that?
Yeah. Now, Harmony, we talked about her last week. This is Harmony Montgomery from New Hampshire. This is the little girl who has been missing for 2 years, and the police have just barely been notified that she's missing. And when we went to press with that story last week, the police were looking, but they had at that point said they had received 25 leads, and that's about where it was at. So since then, the uh, sorry, sidetrack. Joni, I want to say hi.
Yeah, there you go. Just say hi to Joni and you'll be good to go.
There we go. That's what I needed. Okay. Hugs to you too. Uh, since then, dad has been arrested and stepmom have been arrested. Stepmom has been arrested. Now, she and Adam are no longer together, but they were when Harmony went missing.
Right.
And she initially had said that, she went to work one day. Adam said he was taking, or yeah, that he was taking Harmony and dropping her off with her bio mom, Crystal, and that she never saw her again. Well, there's a bit of a problem with that because she also was drawing food stamps on Harmony for the last 2 years.
These people, I got to
So
tell
they
you.
arrested her for Medicaid fraud, and then they've added a few more charges to that now. So she's got some, but she's got some facing up to do. But the thing about it is that, per normal, just kind of like we saw with the Vallow case, they have arrested both of them on whatever they could to try
Right.
and get to the bottom of everything, right? And Adam, of course, was arrested and charged with some child abuse from some things that family members and neighbors had reported that they had seen. So that's all happened. The police and the FBI moved back in on that house. So the house is really the big focus right now. And this is the house where this is Adam's last known address. This is the house where Harmony was supposed to be. The house was being foreclosed on, and apparently Adam and his wife and children were squatting there. They did not have permission to be there. The house belonged to grandma, and grandma had bailed and moved to Florida, and the house was being foreclosed on. And so there's some really interesting things that happened there. So, for one thing that we've seen now is a whole bunch of police reports that have come out. Unfortunately, some domestic violence reports from that house over the summer that Harmony lived
Right.
there. Concerned neighbors calling because they are concerned about the welfare of the children. Neighbors calling because of animal abuse. Neighbors calling because of all kinds of worries, and of course child abuse. One of the things that's a real frustration is that the police were called for a welfare check because the neighbors said that there was trash everywhere. They didn't think the kids were being taken care of. And that there's no power to the home. So the police showed up, and Adam had a generator running to run the fridge. And there was food in the fridge. So that was pretty much it for him. He said the kids were fine. Everybody seems healthy. There's no problem here.
Well,
Well, A, they were squatting illegally in the home. B, they didn't have any power. They were just running the fridge only with the generator. And C, no, the kids weren't okay. It's
yeah.
just disgusting.
It is disgusting, but you have to understand also the way that the laws are written, and they're different in every state, but they
Hmm.
did have food, they had a roof over their head, and you're not
Hmm.
required to have electricity.
Yeah,
Most
apparently
states do
not.
not require that because if you're living homeless, for example, and you're living in a tent,
Hmm.
um, you're not gonna have power. They don't
Yep.
require power. They do
Yep.
require, a safe, sewer situation, a safe place to go to the bathroom,
Hmm.
and food and a safe place to be and clothing. But,
Hmm.
I mean, the reality is that the laws have limited this case a lot because of,
Hmm.
I mean, we have to be really careful
Hmm.
because then you end up with, you know, kids in care and parents in jail for things like not having power, and that
Hmm.
isn't enough. It just isn't, as far as child protection is concerned in the child protection laws.
Hmm.
But it is super frustrating, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, very frustrating for sure. Well, the police were at the house on the 12th of September. And because Uncle Kevin was trying to get he and Grandma's belongings out of the house,
Oh, okay.
and Adam wouldn't let them in. He wouldn't let them in because he was mad at Kevin because Kevin had called the police earlier that summer because of the abuse that he had seen on Harmony.
Right.
Remember, this is when he had been had punched Harmony in the face and she had a black eye. Yeah.
Mhm.
So they had to call the police to get into the house and allow them to get their stuff out. And it's basically the same thing. They're saying there is no power. There hasn't been power in 5 months, but there is running water and there is a generator that's running a refrigerator. So, or a refrigerator. So that's you know whatever. But the police stayed there so that Grandma and uh, Kevin could get their property out of the house. And Adam told the police that he had been paying rent to Grandma for months. The house at that point was foreclosed on. And I don't know if he
Mm.
actually was paying rent to Grandma or not. I don't know. But this one is very interesting. A neighbor called the police on the 12th of January 2020. So this is after they have moved out of the house. Adam and
Mhm.
his family have already moved out. The police officer did say when he was at the house that it was trashed, that there was garbage everywhere and like empty food containers and stuff like that all over the place. So at any rate, that's he did see that. So anyway, fast forward to January, it appears that they have now left the house, but the police shows up, and because a neighbor calls and says that the front door is wide open. So they don't know if, somebody has, they don't know what's happened, right? They don't know if somebody
Mm.
has broken into that house. They don't know what's going on. They call the police. Anyway, so the police show up and they make contact with Adam, who isn't living there anymore. The door wasn't kicked in. The neighborhood reported the door was kicked in. It wasn't kicked in. What it was is that it was left open. And Adam told police that they left the door open when they moved out to air the house out because there was a really bad smell.
Oh, god.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And some
Red,
poor soul has now bought this house, right?
red
And all this
flag,
crap is
anybody?
coming down
Yeah.
on them.
Hmm. Yeah. There's people living in this house. A single mother has purchased this house, is trying to live there with her kids. All of this is happening. Not only have they been back, so with all of that being said, we know all of these things now. We also know that on Monday, the FBI was at the house with the police with pipes full of hot water, unthawing the backyard so they could dig. And they
Yeah.
had, again, tents set up and they did a bunch of digging. And it really looked like maybe they, were going to come up with something. According to Harmony's mother, as of last night, they have found nothing.
Mm,
Also, Harmony's mother doesn't think Harmony's dead. She thinks she was sold.
that's right.
She thinks she was sold. Yep, she thinks that she was sold for drugs, and that that's really what happened. And I agree with that. I've been saying that from the beginning. I think that
It's very
Adam sold
possible.
her. Yeah. Also, did you know that Montgomery is one of the highest per capita uh, communities for opioid addiction in the whole country?
No, I
They
didn't.
have
Oh,
a
wow.
horrible opioid crisis in Montgomery.
Wow.
Yeah, not Montgomery.
I
That's their
know.
last
I'm
name.
I'm like, I don't know what you're saying because
That's not the
you
name
mean
of
where
the
they
town.
are? The
Yeah,
town where they are. Okay, okay.
yeah,
Makes sense.
Manchester. Sorry. Yeah,
Manchester.
Manchester. Yeah, they have a horrible, horrible opioid crisis, which is what it sounds like the addiction of choice for this family likely was as well. But anyway, so that's what we know. So they have done a bunch more digging, looking, upheaving these poor people's lives who live there now, who are just want harmony to be found like everyone else.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some members of the community who don't know what the hell they're talking about have harassed the hell out of them. They have nothing to do with this whatsoever. They just happened to buy
Right, they
that
just
house.
happened to buy the house.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on. I mean, yeah, did the police drop the ball? Yes. Did DC what do they call it there? It's not DCYS. Anyway, they're child protection.
DCS,
Oh yeah, everyone
DCFS,
dropped the ball.
whatever.
It's terrible,
Mhm.
terrible.
It is.
I'm still seeing lots and lots of people attacking mom, and I just don't get it. She had no rights. And she's absolutely begged the system to look into where Harmony is. For a long time, she thought Harmony was fine, that Adam was just hiding her from her out of
Right.
spite because he's an ass. But she finally discovered that no, he doesn't have her. And, for through the grapevine of people that she knows, that he really doesn't have her. And that's when she went to the police and to child protection, started making a lot of noise. We now know also that it was emails that she sent to the mayor that finally got some action, because then the mayor contacted child protection, who then really had to come clean that they don't have any idea where Harmony is. And then they filed a police report.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they did not take her seriously. You're right, GB.
No.
They just treated
No,
her
and
like some crazy, you
well,
know.
they just treated it like it was a custody battle.
Hmm.
And this happens all the time in these
Yeah.
cases because
Yeah.
there are ridiculous, crazy bullshit that goes on with people
Yeah.
when it's custody
Yeah.
issues. And I'm sure that that's the first place that
Yeah.
they went with it,
Hmm.
and that sucks,
Hmm.
but the reason that that happens is because people do that shit all the time to each
Hmm.
other after they've divorced. And so it is hard to tell the difference between a true missing
Yeah.
child and just someone being an asshole.
Totally.
I'm not defending
Totally.
the system. I'm only saying, having worked in it, these are
Hmm.
the challenges that they're
Yeah.
facing with
Yeah.
stuff like this.
Yep. Yep. It's a mess. It is a mess. Yep.
Yeah.
So this is what we know. It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, it is. It's
And
horrifying.
we also know that Harmony's mother, Crystal, has had her own addiction issues and has just recently gotten clean and
Right.
kind of returned to herself and finally started asking questions like, "Where the hell is my daughter?"
Yeah.
I mean, she's not devoid of blame, but she didn't do this. You
Right.
know,
Right.
it's just, I mean, she willingly submitted herself to a polygraph. She's been working with the police,
Yeah.
but anyway, it's a mess. It's awful. So,
Mhm.
anyway, we are sure hoping that Harmony is found. The fund for Harmony now, for the reward fund, is now over $105,000, which is wild. One of the things I've really appreciated about this case is that Bryan Enton is all over it. He has
Yes, he
traveled to Manchester. So Bryan
Mhm.
Hinton, you guys might recognize that name. He was in Florida on the Florida side of the search for Gabby Petito,
Mhm.
and in that town, and spent a lot of time standing outside of the Laundrie's house, reporting there, and then of course at the reserve later on. And apparently Bryan Enton's mother's family is all from Manchester, so he is there covering this story, and I really appreciate that because he's great.
He is. We're
So
gonna get a lot of good info from him.
yes, so you can find him on Twitter, and he's pretty
Mhm.
awesome. So
He is.
keep an
He's a
eye on
great one to
him.
follow. He's already shared a lot of really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
His Twitter is an awesome resource.
Mm-hmm. Bryan Enton, Entin, if you're wondering. But yeah, go follow him on Twitter if you're not, because he's not only is he still reporting on the Petito case, now he's all over this one and others, but I
Mhm.
really like him. I appreciate his work a lot.
Yeah, I do too, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we will keep an eye on that.
Mm-hmm. For
So,
sure.
do y'all remember the guy that bought the gun for Kyle Rittenhouse? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
do, maybe don't. So, when Kyle Rittenhouse was heading to his little rampage that he has been found not guilty of, um, he couldn't buy a gun because he was only 17.
Yeah.
And so a man named Dominick Black, who also was only 20 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
um, bought the assault style rifle for Kyle Rittenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So he was charged in November of 2020 with 2 counts of intentionally giving a dangerous weapon to a person under the age of 18. Those were related to the deaths of Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, he was only 18 when he made, so he's 20
Yeah.
now. He was only 18 when he
Mm-hmm.
bought that rifle for Kyle Rittenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Dumb, dumb. Never buy a gun for someone else. Never
Ever,
do it.
ever.
So he has agreed to plead no contest to
Mm-hmm.
contributing to the delinquency of a minor, which is a non-criminal citation, and that means that he avoids convictions on the 2 felonies he'd be facing. So he also is facing no consequences
Yep.
for this situation.
Well, you know who the judge was, don't you?
Yeah, Kyle
Kyle's
Rittenhouse, his new
grandpa judge.
grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, makes me so mad. Ugh,
The thing
I know.
about
Kate,
the
me too. Whenever
Rittenhouse
that case
case,
pops up, it makes me so
yeah.
freaking mad.
The thing about the Rittenhouse case that really gets to me is that these were extraordinary circumstances that Kyle managed to get off because he had a judge that absolutely made sure it was true, absolutely made it so. And now he's also, created a pathway for this other fool.
Mhm,
Other people who commit crimes and seem to think they're going to get the Rittenhouse treatment are crazy because they
mhm.
won't. It's unlikely that they'll get that same treatment. They'll be the ones going down the road. Anybody who seems to think that, we're in this place of law and order now where
Kate,
you can go
I
ahead and
get
shoot
you, Kate.
people, you
Right,
know, and get away with it under these kinds of circumstances, you can't because it's illegal.
right.
And that's what I think we're going to see down the road is other people committing crimes like this thinking they'll get the Rittenhouse treatment, but the Rittenhouse judge is retiring and he's just
Thank
one guy.
God.
Typically, you're going to get judges that go, we're not having this. But it's all so frustrating. And it just
It
really,
is.
really hurts my heart for the victims of Kyle Rittenhouse
Right, and for their
because,
families, like,
yeah,
they've just been treated as though they didn't matter at all.
one slap in the face after another. Yeah.
Ridiculous. Totally, totally ridiculous.
Hmm.
Speaking of ridiculous, Katie, would you like to tell us about the Moab report on the
Yes.
Gabby Petito and Bryan Laundrie incident in Moab, Utah?
There has finally been the big report has finally rolled out, and it is it's interesting. There's definitely some things to be learned. And they made, I'm going to put a link in the chat room for you guys if you want to go read the whole thing. In the interest of time, I'm not going to read it, the whole thing to you tonight, but I am going to tell you a few things that came from it. So the Moab report said that police categorized the Petito Laundrie incident as disorderly conduct, but it should have been categorized as domestic violence and followed up on appropriately. They said that there are many what ifs that have presented itself as part of the investigation. The primary one being, would Gabby be alive today if the case was handled differently? And that's an impossible question to answer now. Well, yeah, it
Well, it is,
is.
but still.
But we still would like to know, you know. Uh, the Moab report said the officers did not know what they were doing. The officers did not know that what they were doing was wrong at the time and did not make the decision to benefit themselves in any way. They both believed at the time they were making the right decision based on the totality of the circumstances that were presented. So, in other words, they were trying to be the good guys, but they flubbed this up. Uh, they
Well,
recommend that.
they just failed to acknowledge the seriousness of the situation.
Mhm. Yeah. The Moab report recommends that both officers involved in this incident be placed on probation, receive domestic violence training, and legal and other training in order to do their jobs more effectively in the future. One thing in the report that's of concern is that Bryan Laundrie was set up with a hotel room, but they were provided no resources to help victims of domestic violence because they didn't look at it as domestic violence.
Well, they looked at him as the victim,
Mm-hmm. Another
but
part of
only
the
sorta, because if he was
Mhm.
truly a victim, they should have provided him with resources, and they didn't.
Right, and that's one of the problems because they didn't provide him with resources and they didn't arrest Gabby.
Right.
And they could have. If they really saw him as truly the victim, they could have arrested Gabby, but they didn't.
And if they had arrested Gabby, which I think it was bullshit, but even if they had,
Mhm.
would she be alive today? I mean, would he have
It's a
just
good
taken off
question.
without her? And she would have, her parents would have bailed her out and brought her back home, and she would have lived.
Yeah.
And I know we don't know that for sure. I'm just saying,
Mhm.
my God, sometimes these situations are way more serious than they're being taken.
Mhm. Yep. The Moab report says the lack of emotion and fear from Bryan may point towards someone who is the predominant aggressor. But as previously mentioned, Gabby's statement to law enforcement makes it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to substantiate a charge against Bryan as it relates to this. Maybe not, but it was a red flag as to what was really going on here.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if they had at least really legitimately looked at this as a domestic violence situation, regardless of who was the aggressor, and
Hmm.
got some assistance in there or jailed Gabby, oh
Hmm.
my God, this could have
Yeah.
ended so much differently.
Yeah. Essentially, they're saying it wasn't handled correctly. Moab officers did not enforce the law, but they didn't do it maliciously. They just truly didn't know that what they were doing was incorrect.
Right.
There's also a quote from Officer Pratt. He says, I'm desperately fucked up over the fact that she got killed. I really am. I would have done anything to stop it if I would have known that was coming. Of
Right. And
course
of
you would.
course,
Of course you would
of
have.
course they would have. But if they
Yeah.
had truly separated them, if they had truly
Hmm.
gotten some assistance to them, maybe it would have changed the outcome and maybe it wouldn't have. And it's not their fault. They didn't
Hmm.
kill her.
No.
But still,
But still, you wish that we could have had maybe a job better done. Yeah.
yes. And like Joy says, and it's true, Joy, that reactive abuse is hard to recognize outside of greater
Yeah.
context. So, yeah, in the moment, you don't
Hmm.
know, if it is reactive or if it is, what it is. The thing that just struck me, though, about the video of this is that Gabby cries the entire time.
Yeah. She cannot control her
She
tears.
cannot stop crying. And Bryan stands there and just bullshits with the cops.
Yep.
Like, they didn't see, like, there's something going on here. Why is
Well,
she this upset? you know?
continually talks to the police about her more in an authoritative state, like he's a parent, you know?
Yeah.
That really bothered me.
It it
Yeah.
it was very much the way that men, you know, get other men in on the, "Oh, she's just crazy." It was the crazy making bullshit, it really was, and
Mhm.
that has bothered me since the first time I watched it, that it if they had just stepped back and looked at their behavior, they might have seen a little bit different picture of
Yeah.
this situation.
Yep.
It's just
Most
really sad
definitely.
that it ended up this way.
It is really sad. Yep. So we were hoping that there would be more released in the murders in Moab, but that has not happened yet. But there is a bigger spotlight on
Mhm.
that case now, thanks to the Petito case. So we're still holding up some hope that there's going to be something come from those
Well, now
murders as
these
well.
same police that have had their asses kicked over the Gabby
Hmm.
Petito thing are also trying to solve that case.
Yeah,
So, although I think the FBI is also
I
involved.
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Definitely.
And you're right, Joy. Women are way more intuitive on the subject, and would
Hmm.
not have thought to step back and look at their behavior had they,
Hmm.
unless they'd had some better training. Because I've been a domestic
Right.
violence trainer for police. I've done it, I did it for a couple of years. And
Hmm.
with some training,
Yeah.
to read the picture, step back and look at the bigger
Hmm.
picture here, they can learn to do it.
Well, and
But
remember that there was a female officer there. She was actually from the Park Department, I believe,
right.
from Arches, and
Yeah.
she did sit in a vehicle with uh, Gabby and tell her that it appeared to her that she was in a really toxic relationship and that she really needed to consider if this was really the right thing for her, and told her that she'd been in domestic violence in the past. She knew what she was looking at. She
She
knew.
did.
Yeah,
She didn't
but
have
she
the
didn't
same
have any.
authority.
She had no authority. Yeah, she was just assisting. She had no authority to make any kind of decision. But she did say that to Gabby.
Hmm. And
Yes, Jennifer.
and that is interesting, Jennifer, because it's true that Stan is code for "send the authorities now," but it
Mhm.
was also her grandfather's actual name,
Mhm.
which
I
was an
know.
indication that it might have just been Bryan sending that text,
Mhm. That
referring to
was really
him.
confusing.
That
But yeah,
was.
that's true because she did send a text to her mom about Stan, and yes, Stan does mean send the authorities now. I know.
But only
That's,
if she had actually arranged that with her mom prior,
yeah.
you know, if her mom actually knew what that meant.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Oh,
frustrating.
yeah.
Well, in other strange and frustrating news,
We're just
Billy
a barrel
Chemirmir.
of laughs tonight. Yeah.
Aren't we though? Billy Chemirmir. You may remember Billy
Oh,
Chemirmir.
Lord.
He was charged in the deaths of 18 elderly women in Dallas and Collin counties in Texas.
Well, no, he was only charged in the death of one.
Well, right. He's been in, suspected of, I guess is the better
Hmm.
word. But
Yeah.
he was on trial for the murder of Lou Harris, who is believed to be his final victim.
Hmm. Yeah.
The jury deadlocked, and the judge ordered a mistrial, and that was in November.
Yeah.
So they are retrying. They are committed to retrying. I really
Hmm.
hope they have some better evidence this time because, frankly, I think it's 100% the prosecution's fault that it deadlocked in the first place.
Hmm.
But
The
his
prosecutor
retrial,
was not great.
no.
Prosecutor was not great at all.
Well, and where is some solid forensic evidence? It's so much circumstantial evidence. It's
Hmm.
just really frustrating.
Hmm.
Ho- But April 25th,
Okay.
that case is going to be retried. So they are committed
Hmm.
to, holding him accountable. They're
Hmm.
trying what they're trying to do, because there are 18 to 24 victims in this case. What the whole plan has been all along is to just get him a life sentence and not try to charge him on all the other ones, because they don't have any friggin' evidence, you guys.
No,
They have.
because as these very old ladies were dying in this retirement home, they just were writing it off as being, natural causes, uh, particularly because he was smothering them. And
Right.
so little old ladies were laying down on their beds and not getting back up, and they were just writing it off as natural causes,
Yeah.
even though their families were reporting to the nursing home when their loved ones were dying that their jewelry was all stolen.
Right.
And yet, the how it all fell through the cracks, a lot of it was the retirement home that was kind of sweeping it under the rug. Chemirmir was coming in, or accused Chemirmir was coming into the nursing home pretending to be, or the retirement home, pretending to be a maintenance worker.
Yeah.
And they have, there's a lot of problems because the retirement home didn't have cameras that were working. They had billed themselves as the most secure place in town. Well, the
Yeah.
most
And
secure place in
totally
town was
lied.
letting anybody in the front door, did
Yeah.
not have working cameras in the hallways, and had people dying right and left and having all of their jewelry and expensive stuff stolen. And they weren't reporting that to the police and digging deeper.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And they're, if you wonder if they're getting the shit suit out of them, they are.
Oh my gosh. They're gonna be in such a deep hole they'll never get
Hmm.
out.
Yeah.
But the last victim, Lou Harris, the police arrived at where he was, where he killed, well, no, they arrived at his apartment right
Hmm.
after he arrived from killing her, and he
Hmm.
threw her jewelry box in the trash. It had her name on it at
Hmm.
his apartment. So they have that
Hmm.
physical evidence,
Yeah.
and
But
they had that crime scene. Like,
hmm, he actually, and she was not in a retirement community.
no,
She was just a sweet little old lady that he targeted, that he saw at Walmart
yeah,
and followed home.
followed her home. Followed her
Um,
home.
so his attorneys argued that the jewelry box, that he had bought it from some man on the street, and he had no idea that it was used in any kind of a crime. He just thought it was cool and bought it. That's basically what they
Well,
said. And the police, or the prosecutor, didn't seem to have much to counter that argument.
but he threw it away, for one.
Hmm. They
For
also
two, where's
had,
the guy he bought it from? Let's see that
right.
guy.
Well, he doesn't know. He doesn't. He
Yeah,
was a man on the street. Hello.
right,
Uh, they also, they did come up with a fence. Somebody that he'd been fencing all the jewelry through,
right.
who had said that Chemirmir had sold him over $100,000 in jewelry in the past 4 years,
Yeah,
which should stand for something. But
something. You
they
would
did
think
not do a great job.
at least the victims' families could be identifying some jewelry. Maybe there's something out there.
Right.
Well, fingerprints, no, he wore gloves. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
forensically very aware.
Mm-hmm.
And, the other thing that they have on him is they have a woman who, Mary, who she's passed away now, but
Mm-hmm.
she's the only victim who survived.
Yes.
And they do have her deposition on video because he was she was very elderly, and she woke up.
Mm-hmm.
Her friends came and found her and revived her,
Yeah.
and she had a lot to say, but
Mm-hmm.
it was way after the fact too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. She was the star witness.
She
Her
was.
deposition was, even though she
Yeah.
has passed. Yep. Yep.
So we shall see on that, but it's very
Yep. It
frustrating.
is. It was lazy. It was like they just thought they had a slam dunk. They didn't try very hard. They didn't bring very many witnesses in or provide very much evidence, really. The whole
No.
thing was open and shut in about a week, and
Yeah.
a little less than a week, actually. And
It
so,
was
yeah,
real fast.
hopefully, this is their wake up call that they better show up with more
A
evidence
lot
than what
more.
they did. Yeah.
Well, there really was no evidence placing him in Lou Harris's apartment, killing her. They didn't have anything. They
Yeah.
only had the jewelry box. Like,
Mhm.
can they place him there?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very
Mhm.
frustrating one. But they, definitely don't want him back out on the street because he's clearly a psychopath.
Mhm.
Oy.
And but the only charges he'd had before that were, I think, like DUI. He didn't have a lot.
No, he's been very good at getting away with this
Mhm.
for a
Yeah.
long time.
Let's see. No cameras at the apartment? No. No, they don't. They have cameras of him stalking her at Walmart.
Yep,
They
following
have
her.
film of him following her around at Walmart, and parking lot cameras of her getting in her car and him getting in his and following her out of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they do have that, but, again, that's circumstantial. They have so much circumstantial evidence and
Mhm.
no physical evidence. Or they do and they didn't use it, or they rushed this, I don't know. But it couldn't have been rushed because he has sat in prison for almost 2 years before he was tried because
Mhm.
of COVID. So,
Yep.
craziness.
Lazy. It was lazy.
Very lazy.
Yep.
And speaking of people that have not served enough time for their crimes, would you like to tell us about Robert Durst? Yeah.
Robert F. Durst. My God.
Mhm. Right?
Okay, so you guys might remember we've reported on Robert Durst before. He was very elderly and was finally convicted of murder this fall for killing his best friend. He was 78 when he was finally convicted. He's been a suspected killer for a long time,
Yep.
and they haven't been able to quite prove what he did. Well, this fool went ahead and died. So he actually only did a very short amount of time in
Like
prison.
2 years or something.
Yeah,
Well, and he was charged with the death of his wife, but he'd not been, tried for it yet.
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, that little
yeah.
shithead got away with most of it, that's what I'm saying.
He really did. Well, and here's the thing. They apparently, I'm trying to get clear on this. There is a law in California. There was an appeal filed on his conviction. Get this. Under California law, a conviction is vacated if a defense dies while the case is under appeal.
What?
Yeah.
If the defendant dies while it's under appeal?
Hmm.
But he was already convicted, like,
Well, not anymore.
oh, for hell's sakes.
Thanks to dying, he is now not convicted of killing his
He's
best friend.
he's known as the Jinx, and there's
Hmm.
a really bizarre, documentary called The Jinx about him,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I don't know, this dude's been lucky his whole life somehow,
Weird,
but likely killed at
weird
least 2
freaking
people.
guy.
Yeah,
Hmm. Hid out in an apartment building for a few years by dressing up as a woman.
that's right.
And the landlord thought he was a woman. There was only one person who knew he wasn't, and that was a neighbor. And guess who died under suspicious circumstances? That guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. They authorities really think there are quite a few deaths around Robert
there
Durst
are.
that he is responsible for. They just
Yeah.
haven't ever been able to fully prove it.
Mm-mm. But then when they
But he,
caught him, wasn't it because he stole a chicken sandwich from a grocery store when they finally caught him?
yeah,
Like, he
yes,
just was bizarre, you guys,
yeah,
bizarre. But now
yeah,
he's up and died. So,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
Tracy? Can I please ask if someone dies on Earth, does their soul pay?
Does
Right?
it? What kind of karma? I'm gonna think there's something. Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
can't believe that he snuck out the back door.
I can. He's been doing it his whole freaking life.
It's true.
What in the hell?
It's true. They're saying he died of natural causes at the hospital next door to the jail or to the prison.
He was 78.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
good God. I just could not believe it when I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, finally a little justice for his friend and maybe eventually for his wife, but
Mm-hmm.
nope, not really.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go.
Ran. I bet those pearly great gates aren't looking very pearly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
How warm is it where you are, Robert? On a scale
yes.
of 1 to 10.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, that really sucks for her family.
Yeah.
But on a technicality now, he's no longer convicted of that murder.
That is so
What?
ridiculous. I
I
mean,
mean,
even
does it
as
matter?
this
Maybe
dude is
not.
lucky as hell.
Mhm.
Well, okay, so the New York Post, was it the New York Post or the New York Times? I think it was the New York Times, posted this, right? And the article about it was, let me get this right. Real estate scion and person who committed murder or some stupid thing like that.
Mhm.
Robert Durst dies at 78.
Yeah.
Real estate scion
Mhm.
and person convicted of murder.
Yeah.
What? We're using his
Yeah.
like
Really?
he doesn't get accolades for his accomplishments anymore. He's a
Right.
convicted murderer. Like, yeah, I was
Yeah.
pissed. Like, no. Talk
Yeah.
about white privilege. My God. Why
Mhm.
would you say that about him?
Yeah.
Convicted murderer and suspected of other murders, Robert Durst, you know?
Right.
Let's be honest about who this guy was.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Yeah. Gross.
Cranky.
Seems legit, cranky.
You're right, Alexis. He was pretending to be a deaf mute woman.
That's right, Alexis. Yep. Yep.
Watch The Jinx. I'm serious. If you have not watched
Cute
it,
woman.
you should watch it because this dude, I don't even know. I don't even know what to call it.
Crazy.
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 Yeah.
Yes. Cranky said maybe he will come back as a fly on a pile of shit. Well, we can hope. Yes.
Maybe. I don't know.
Red girl, you got it. Murderous old fool escapes justice by dying like a bitch.
There you go. Red Girl, thank you. That is a much, much better headline than
Hmm.
what they were using. I was
There.
like,
Fixed it for
real
you.
estate scion. Oh my God, you idiots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Escapes justice by dying like a bitch. Right? He died without saying where he buried his wife. That is true.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
Much better. Thank you, Red Girl. We needed that rewritten.
It's true.
We should do a whole show sometime on ridiculous headlines about crime.
Hmm. Have you? Oh, there's a comedy bit by John Mulaney. If you guys know John Mulaney, he's very funny, and lately he's been kind of a pig in the news, but generally funny guy. And he was talking about, I think, the New York Post actually, and their headlines that if a woman is killed, it will always be something like "beauty slain," whether she was
Mhm.
a beauty or not.
Yes, that's true. That
And
is
if a
true.
child dies, they will always be called angel.
Yes.
And like he had a whole classification that was actually pretty funny about the headlines and how they read. It was very true, but it was anyway, kind of funny.
Well, our local East Idaho news, that we've talked about on here quite a lot,
Oh, that's right. Tot or angel. That's
Tot
right.
or Angel, yes. One time they had a headline that said, "Basketball coach arrested for lesbian relationship with student." And
Yeah.
I went right at them and said, "Lesbian relationship, that's child sexual abuse. What are you
Yeah.
doing?" You know? And, they changed the headline because it was like, no.
Yeah.
Don't be dragging us innocent lesbians into this. What the hell are you know? That person's a sexual predator, not a lesbian. Get it straight here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's done a lot though. That one is
Yes, it is.
that
It
one's
is,
done
and
a lot.
anytime I see it, man, I go right after it because it's crap.
Hmm.
It
Well,
is total
or
crap.
inappropriate relationship or underage relationship rather than
Mhm.
rape.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Underage
the
woman.
difference. Yes.
Underage woman.
Underage woman rather than
Well,
child who was
that
raped.
doesn't exist. That means a girl.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's also an issue in LA. I don't know if you heard about this, but
Mm.
two LAPD officers have been fired.
Oh, great. What did they do?
Well, they had a robbery call that they should have been out on, and they didn't get there in time. They were a little bit busy playing Pokemon Go.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they now have a
What the
lot of time to play Pokemon Go.
They were playing Pokemon Go on the clock?
Indeed.
Oh my hell.
Yeah.
You know, I really get the impression that they'll let just about anybody be a cop. It
Uh,
drives me nuts. This is one of my big soapbox moments.
mhm.
But I think that all police officers should have to have a bachelor's degree in a human service field.
Yeah.
You need to, whether it's criminal justice or
And they
social
should be
work.
paid better
Yeah, they
because
need to
police
have a
officers get
degree.
paid garbage.
Yeah, they need
Yeah.
to have a degree and get paid better so
Mhm.
that they are trained, so that they understand
Mhm.
society. They know what they're going into, not just post training, not just, whatever.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's my big soapbox moment because
Yeah.
there are some police officers with degrees, but they don't all have degrees. Like most of them don't have
No.
degrees. And they should.
No.
They
They
should
should,
have to
and there should
have.
be a pathway to get there as
Yes.
well. Like, there is a way to solve this.
Oh,
Yeah.
there totally is, and it's education.
It's education. It's money. It's
Mhm.
throwing more money at the police department in a useful way, requiring education, helping pay for education. Yeah, with school debt paid off for service.
Right.
Definitely, Joy.
Well, and less
Definitely.
money for, tanks and cats that rip out walls and all
Yeah.
that shit, and a lot more money on how to deal with people,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm. Absolutely. Also in Idaho, in very ironic news, there's a little community not far from here called Firth,
Yeah,
and the Firth had a devastating fire yesterday
they did.
that completely destroyed a building.
Yeah,
And you would hope that the fire department would be able to get there and put the fire out. The problem is the fire was at the fire department. The
yeah,
Firth fire house has burned to the ground with all of their stuff inside.
yeah.
How ironic, weird, and sad is that?
Very sad, and it was an electrical problem in one of the trucks that started the fire.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was an accident that came from some kind of electrical thingy.
Yeah,
But yeah, how often do you hear of a fire station burning down with its fire trucks inside?
yeah,
So yeah, it's like a total loss of their
yeah.
trucks, 2 trucks and a tanker.
Hmm.
Yeah, really sad. It's an
Hmm.
old, old, old building. Um, and did
Hmm.
they not pay the water bill? Right, right.
Right,
I
right.
guess
I
they
know.
actually used they used the burning trucks to put the fire out.
Yeah.
When the Shelley Fire Department came, which is another little town near them, they
Hmm.
used, like, that tanker truck to,
Hmm.
put the
Hook on
fire out,
to,
but
yeah.
yeah, it was
It's a total
terrible,
loss. Yeah.
terrible situation, really sad.
Yeah, it is. But I can't get over the irony of the firehouse burning down.
I know. I'm sure that the fire people that work there are like, "Oh my god, please no one ever talk about this ever again." And that's why we're talking about it right here to our hundreds of followers, thousands of followers, whatever.
Look at us. No, it must have been really terrible for them, for sure.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that it was,
Well,
but
and
it
I
is
mean, we're talking about an itty bitty community, like a
it's a
couple thousand
tiny,
people, if
tiny, tiny
that.
little town.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's probably only, I don't know how many firemen they have there, but I doubt it's
not
more than
very
a few.
many,
And
just a
most of them
handful.
are probably volunteers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
It's been a weird week, you guys. It's been a weird week.
It has been a weird week, and now you know what's about to happen.
Mm.
Mercury's fixing to go retrograde, so
Well, god damn it.
hold on to your business because it's going to get crazy. Yeah.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. I hope not.
Yeah. Yeah. With a
Yeah.
volunteer fire department, most of the little tiny communities around us do just have a volunteer fire department. Yeah.
Yeah, with like a fire chief and maybe 1 or 2 people that actually work at the fire station and then
Hmm.
everybody else.
Or just
Yeah.
locals that have been trained to some degree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brace yourselves. Mercury could get weird. I'm hoping not. The last Mercury in
I'm
retrograde
really
was
hoping not.
not that great, but I'm hoping it's not always bad. It's not always bad, but I don't
True.
know. I'm not trusting much these days, you know. What's
Right.
coming? More murder hornets? I don't know.
More murder.
It's too
Well,
cold.
let's not even go there. Let's not even go there.
Murder hornets that can survive in the cold. That's what's no, no,
Oh, no, no,
no.
no, not good.
Yes.
All right. Well, you guys, that is the update for the week.
Yeah.
We will be back tomorrow, Thursday night at 7 p.m. Mountain for the Psychic Hour. And that, of course, is also a live stream here on YouTube and on Facebook and
Mhm.
will be available after the fact on our podcast live stream, our podcast streams and everywhere else.
Yep.
Do you know what we're doing tomorrow? It's your turn.
No, I was thinking about it tonight. I need to get a
Oh,
plan together. Any
well,
requests, actually? Oh, there is a huge comet next week. It's like
yes.
something like 12 football fields wide
Yeah.
that's going to buzz Earth next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, though, there was one thing I wanted to mention really quickly, and
Oh,
I'm not going to get to it. Somebody said that they got home with their dog from the emergency vet. It was Laura Corin.
oh, it was corn. Hmm.
Said they got home from the vet with their dog, Hermes. He's not feeling well and would appreciate some good vibes. So, everybody send a little love Hermes' way and Corin's both.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And any requests for the psychic hour? I'm looking. Whatever you guys are wanting to do, we'll do it. So,
There you
comment,
go.
let us know. An animal communication show? Well, maybe we should.
We could. Sure. Why
Let's
not?
do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. We haven't done that in a
Well,
while, or maybe ever. Yeah,
a
I'm in.
plan has been made. There you go.
Way to go, Red Girl.
All right, y'all. You know it. We are True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Thank you for being here.
Take care.